Guys, I'm gonna level with you here. It is extremely difficult to make a game about a garbage robot look interesting, but here goes.
The first 10 Pixar movies comprise what I and many others consider to be the golden age of Pixar. If you were to ask me what I think Pixar's best movie is, it's an extremely difficult question to answer. But after much thought, I think I'd have to say WALL-E. This movie gave me far more than I was expecting, and conveys a very relevant and eye-opening commentary on environmentalism by depicting a dystopian future of Earth. WALL-E stands for Waste Allocation Load Lifter Earth Class. Human life has completely abandoned the planet in favour of a life of ease, after having basically turned it into one big garbage dump. I don't use the term masterpiece all that often, but there's no other word I feel to be more appropriate to describe this movie. For me, this is the crown jewel of Pixar movies, and one of the last of the very best. So when it came to checking out the video game, I was more than a little apprehensive that it would fail to meet this standard, and this apprehension was reinforced by some rather mediocre critic scores. As we know, a great movie doesn't always translate to a video game very well. See Ratatouille for reference.
But what about WALL-E? Is this game unexpectedly out of this world? Or is it just pure garbage?
To my surprise, I actually think the game is very good, at least for the most part. As was the case with the Ratatouille game, WALL-E captures the look and feel of the movie almost perfectly. In terms of the game's appearance, I've no complaints whatsoever. WALL-E himself is also not as awkward to control as I anticipated, and has more moves than you'd probably expect. WALL-E can retreat into a box form in order to slide under obstacles or break crates. And it can also be used to protect himself from attack. Additionally, he can also lift cubes to throw with the square button. When standing on a pile of garbage, he'll automatically make a cube out of it to throw. If you suddenly need to retreat into a box for whatever reason, WALL-E will automatically throw the cube away. Throughout the game, there are several types of cubes you can use. There are plain cubes that can be used to inflict damage or activate switches. There are explosive cubes that can be used to destroy things blocking your path. And later on board the Axiom, you find attraction cubes, which, when destroyed, emit a magnetic pulse that yanks large crates and anything else magnetic towards it. Except WALL-E himself, of course.
I guess you could say he's just not attractive. Oh no, don't get upset. Just look at that sexy cubic figure. Hey, to some people, the smell of garbage is a turn-on.
At the end of every level, you're rewarded with points to spend on extras. Again, a lot like in a Ratatouille game. And the level complete screen is accompanied by WALL-E's favourite song from Hello Dolly.
Ah, how cute! This music makes me feel so happy!
Or at the very least, this was my initial reaction. But after you've heard this music for what feels like the 100th bloody time, it starts to become a little grating.
Oh, they're playing it again? Okay.
The extras are comprised of concept art, high-res movie stills, and cheats, which we'll talk about towards the end of the video. The concept art and images are certainly nothing to shout about. In fact, I would actually recommend not bothering with these unless you really want to see some boring screenshots of the movie.
Or you could just put the DVD on and pause it somewhere. That's just as good.
What is satisfying though is that, unlike Ratatouille, there's just enough points in the game to unlock all the extras. So there are no random points left over.
I guess you could say all the points in this game have a point.
Okay, so now it's time to talk about crates. Yep, crates. That most thrilling of subjects.
Strap yourselves in, guys. I bet you're on the edge of your seat.
There are 3 types of crates in the game. Grey crates can be destroyed with your box move or by throwing cubes at them, while red ones can only be destroyed with your laser. In order to use the laser, you need to keep the meter topped up with laser charges. And there are some vendors dotted around that you can use like one-arm bandit machines to dispense these charges.
You're all clear.
The thing is though, many of the crates themselves also contain these things, so I didn't find myself using these dispensers too often.
Clear.
The remaining crates are blue crates. These can be destroyed with both physical attacks and your laser. They contain blue energies. Often throughout the game, you'll need a certain number of these to progress through a locked gate. Occasionally, you'll also encounter vortexes blocking your path, and you can somehow get rid of them by destroying the crate inside.
I'm not sure how this works exactly, but whatever, it does.
There are also yellow charges that you find throughout the game, and these refill your health. One thing I actually found pretty neat is that Wally can also use sunlight to top his health up, just like in the movie. I love stuff like this. It's these little attentions to detail that make some of these tie-in games a satisfying experience.
Well, mostly anyway.
With the R1 button, you can view things through Wally's perspective. If you happen to glance over some suspicious disturbances in the dirt, you can find unknown objects. Once you've found one, if you head over there and dig, you retrieve artifacts. These range from an umbrella and a telescope to a rubber duck and even Rex from Toy Story.
Who's thankfully silent this time.
This probably doesn't sound all that interesting, but honestly, whenever Wally retrieves a new item, there's always a humorous animation that accompanies it. And often he completely misses the point of the item he's found, much like in the movie. Finding all the artifacts and breaking all the crates in a level give you more bonus points. Now, while I found retrieving the artifacts interesting, investing so much time looking for hidden crates is not especially fun. Most of the crates are out in the open, but there are some that are situated out of reach and require you to look around to locate them. There are also a few fast-paced levels in which the crates are extremely easy to miss. And if you do happen to miss some crates, there's no option to retry the mission until after you've finished it. Otherwise, if you want all the crates before reaching the end of the level, you have no choice but to purposely die, which thankfully isn't difficult in this case.
Why are so many games like this? Surely adding a restart option to the pause menu isn't a hard thing to do.
There are many areas throughout the game in which you need to perform some kind of robot gymnastics, and it can feel a bit clunky. I did say that Wally isn't as awkward to control as I expected, but he is nonetheless a little awkward. I mean, he's basically a metal box. What do you expect?
The best way I can describe this is, imagine you're performing tricks at a skate park, but with a shopping trolley. That is basically what this feels like.
Wally can use ramps to gain speed. Sometimes you'll need to ensure the speed meter in the bottom right is full in order to make a big enough jump to cross large gaps. Otherwise, Wally's ordinary jump frankly fuels my anxiety. It can barely be called a jump. There are occasional platforming moments throughout the game, and it often feels as though you barely make the jump by the skin of your teeth.
Oh, Wally, you are a Wally. Aptly named, I guess.
Once you grow accustomed to the controls though, Wally's moves become second nature, and are surprisingly fun. That said, there are occasions when you need to perform certain moves perfectly, as in the 2 optional playground levels, which you unlock automatically a little later on. Admittedly, these aren't necessary to complete and merely a chance to earn extra points, but they can be quite frustrating, particularly the tasks that require you to pass through all the BNL gates before the time runs out. It can be hard to ensure Wally ascends the ramp in just the right place to reach the gate. And with all the twists and turns you have to make, it can also be awkward to maintain your speed, but it's definitely nothing overly taxing. It just might take a few attempts to master.
You might say the gameplay feels a little robotic.
And while we're on the subject of complaining about things, this game is full of these goddamn security code puzzles.
You're all clear.
I get that it's a kid's game and all, but wow, these are far too easy and so frigging boring! There are some that require you to match the colours, while others simply see you're having to repeat or copy the combination.
Clear.
Yes, that's right, repeat or copy. So yeah, these security code things basically tell you the solutions.
Get away.
This is possibly the least secure form of security I've ever seen.
Before too long, Wally is intrigued by the arrival of Eve, a probe sent to Earth to find samples of plant life. There's a really cute level here in which you need to pursue Eve and try and get her attention.
That streamlined design of hers is really making its CPU overheat, if you know what I'm saying. You know, I've got something in my eye, oh my god.
Now and again you also get to control Eve too. The flight controls are simple enough, but it's very fast and the steering is extremely sensitive. The only other thing worth mentioning here is the laser gun weapon, which is the only form of attack she wields. After Eve retrieves the plant, she goes into a sleep mode and is taken by a ship. Naturally, Wally races to the rescue and winds up clinging onto the ship for dear life.
Or whatever the robot equivalent of life is.
As exciting as this part of the game looks, the gameplay could not be more mundane. While Wally ascends the ladder automatically, you simply have to use your laser to destroy the oncoming satellites, and space ice. Which I guess is basically just ice.
But in space!
You also need to remember to take out the red crates to keep your laser energy filled up. There are several parts of the game that are similar to this, and none of them are particularly interesting. Most often you'll need to ward off some advancing enemies with the laser. And at some point later in the game, Wally finds himself trapped in a pod drifting through space, and must use the pod's laser to destroy the oncoming debris. Weirdly, this is actually easier than the previous laser levels. Since he's not using his own laser this time, there's no need to look for red crates to refill your laser energy.
Hey, no fair! How come this pod's laser is better than mine?
What's with him?
Laser envy.
The levels aboard the Axiom are generally a little more interesting and challenging, and that's apparent right away with the first level here, as we need to follow the cart carrying Eve. Now, I'm not sure if this is just me, but I found this level to represent a major difficulty spike. Up to this point, it's been really easy, arguably too easy, but here it's a while before the first checkpoint, and I was forced to restart the level several times. Part of the problem I had was that it didn't always seem obvious which direction I should be going in. I mean, obviously I have to follow the cart, but there were times when it felt as though I couldn't see the path until it was too late. Oh. Guess I was supposed to be on that vehicle then. It just left without me. Looks like I've missed my train. I can't restart either, so, goodbye, cruel world. While on board the Axiom, Wally can use the reject robots to help him using music. If you hold down the L1 button, the robots will follow the sound.
No! The music! Anything but the music!
Firstly, there's a vacuum bot, which produces cubes for you to throw. Which comes in handy since that little bitch gopher won't let you carry cubes around. Then there's an umbrella bot, which can be used to access out-of-reach places. There's also D-Fib, a robot you can use to open B&L security doors.
Clear.
And Hands, who can be used to destroy large crates blocking your path. Finally, there's LT, who you can use to light your way around a dark room. Occasionally, you'll also encounter little robotic rats known as Remmies.
I see what you did there.
These will hurt you if you get too close, but if you keep the light behind you, it will scare them away.
Maybe they just don't like your music. Who could blame them? How about something a little more appropriate?
Rats in my room. I am bothered by those rats in my room.
Yeah, change it back.
Overall, I like the addition of these other robots. I'm pleasantly surprised by the creativity here. Controlling Wally is a lot more interesting than you'd expect. Oh, but imagine my unmitigated joy upon realizing that this game contains stealth sections.
Do I look like stealth is my strong suit? I'm a fucking box!
Now and again you'll come across these Opti-bots, and you can only avoid them by standing still in box form. If you're detected, the bot will sound the alarm to alert the stewards. This is a nice idea and all, but I didn't really see any point in being stealthy at all. It's actually much easier to purposely activate the alarm and then take out the stewards. I'm not kidding, it's much quicker this way. There are also some areas where we need to avoid some heavy traffic from an overhead POV. Never seen these before.
And when I say heavy traffic, I mean heavy.
Yes, here we have to dodge the fat people. And I can't believe I just said that, but here we are.
So yeah, it's basically Frogger, but with fat people. Fat Frogger.
Mutiny! Mutiny!
After it becomes apparent that Auto, the ship's autopilot, is trying to sabotage the humans' plans to return to Earth, it's up to Wally to head down a trash chute to rescue Eve. And this leads to one of the more interesting levels of the game, as we need to follow Little Mo and find all the parts to fix Eve. It's hard to explain why I like this level. To you guys watching this, they probably all look the same, but each level requires you to use all of your abilities to solve various puzzles, and I personally think that this level in particular really takes advantage of the environment to really get the most out of Wally's moves.
This song isn't gonna leave my head for weeks. What did I do to deserve this torture?
Hey!
Mr. Captain, I'm locked in my room. Drop one, bring the plan to the Lido deck.
While the game does maintain this standard throughout, a problem I have is that it feels a little anticlimactic. After following Eve through the Lido deck, you're faced with yet more stewards. And this is the closest thing there is to a final boss, which I think is a little disappointing.
You're not getting away from me, One-Eye! Ouch!
After the Axiom tilts to one side, there's one final race to get the plant to the holo detector. While I think this level is a good idea, I really expected it to go on for a lot longer. It honestly took me less than 30 seconds to complete it, which means it's got to be one of the shortest levels of any game I've ever played. Either way, since this definitely feels like the climax of the game, I'd have been more than happy if the game had ended here.
You're relieved of duty.
But nope! This little robot just keeps on rolling!
With the plant saved, the Axiom returns to Earth, and Eve races a broken Wally to his trailer to save him. Did this really have to be a level? It really feels like the game is dragging by this point. With Wally saved and reunited with Eve, the game then very abruptly ends.
Or so I thought.
Yes, just when you think it's all over, there are even more tasks to complete. Yippee! Mo will send you on 3 missions to rescue some of the reject bots from the stewards, who are now equipped with explosive cubes that can kill you in one shot. Meanwhile, the captain repeatedly has his plant stolen by Gopher,
Gopher stole my plant. Would you help me get it back?
who you need to chase down a total of 3 times. Dude, can he not just hold on to the plant? Why are NPCs always so bloody useless? I've had to do all kinds of acrobatics I didn't think I was capable of. You just had to hold a plant and you couldn't even do that.
Captain, with all due respect, you had one job.
Once you've completed these challenges, the final plant is, well, planted. And we all live happily ever after. The end.
Is that it now? Is it over?
But wait, there's more!
Oh, for God's sake!
There's one final bonus level in which you need to guide Eve through the Lido deck. And yes, it's basically the same as all the other Eve levels, so this was of course absolutely necessary. And then that's it, I promise you. You're finished.
Really?
Yep, the game is over.
And there's no more? No more at all?
Nope, it's all over now.
Phew, finally. Actually, you know what? That's a bit disappointing.
Now, I know you're probably thinking I'm really hard to please here, but I'm genuinely a little upset there's no big prize for 100% completion, besides the cheats and those boring images, of course. I mean, yes, on the one hand, this game has a ton of extra features, but really, I wasted my whole afternoon smashing crates for this thing. You're telling me this? This is my reward?
Oh, I've wasted my life.
But what about those cheats? Are they any good? Well, yes, actually. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but they're fairly interesting. Some cheats can simply be purchased with points, while others require a secret code to unlock. They include, but are not limited to, a bubble machine for Wally, ski goggles, golden caterpillars, infinite laser power, multicolored lasers, and an LGM backpack. Oh, and there's also the ability to play music from the Ratatouille and Incredibles game soundtracks, in place of that bloody song.
I've never been happier to hear different music. This is the happiest day of my life.
There's also a bunch of 2-player games you unlock as you progress throughout the game, including a Wally race and an Eve flight challenge. There are a couple of mundane ones too, such as an incredibly dull laser game and a 2-player traffic challenge, but my favourite here is the plant collection level. Here you get a chance to really play dirty and steal your opponent's plants. And if you're lacking a second controller, you can still play with friends in the championship mode, which lets you take turns with a friend in various levels to achieve the best time. And yes, this includes those god-awful security codes.
You know, just in case you wanted your friends to suffer too.
You you know what, overall I'm actually impressed. I might complain about the lack of a prize for full completion, but otherwise this game just keeps on giving. Considering the bleak, barren settings of the movie, and the fact that Wally himself is hardly the supplest of characters, this game does well in being not only captivating enough, but also a surprisingly faithful accompaniment to the movie. Sure, there are parts that feel a little dull and repetitive, but for the most part it's solidly entertaining, and probably one of the last good movie games for PS2. Is it one of the best? No, but it's certainly not what I'd call garbage.
So yeah, this game was a lot better than I expected. Not exactly out of this world, but still pretty good. Now, what music do we have to play us out? Oh no. Oh god, no!
Sunday clothes when you feel